We don't take care of ourselves to die the healthiest person in the world. We take care of ourselves because we want to live the life we want to live. So as we descend deeper into the mind game, we begin to reveal that the power to create the life that you want lies within the decisions, habits, and actions we take each day. And isn't that in itself both deeply empowering and perhaps overwhelming all at the same time? Because sometimes it's hard to see the forest for the trees. And by that, I mean sometimes I'd just like to feel better, to feel more like myself, to have more energy. But if you're like me, maybe you have no idea where to start. The great news is you don't have to do this alone. In fact, today's guest is a functional nutritionist specializing in women's health. And it's Amy's words I shared at the start of this episode. We invest in ourselves so that we can take back our life and feel healthier every day. In this episode, Amy and I will dig into the story of how she went from teaching pre-K to empowering women to take back their health. And along the way, we'll begin to explore the importance of addressing root causes, building internal resilience, and the interconnectedness of gut health, hormones, and overall well-being. We'll learn how Amy helps busy women make sustainable life changes, addressing not just nutrition, but also stress management, mindset, and lifestyle factors. The insights Amy shares in this episode impact all ages and all genders. So get ready to tune into the messages your body is already sending you. Because you only have this life to live. P.S. You have about 60 seconds to get ready for this episode. Here comes the intro. Welcome to Mind Game, a podcast to level up your life. My name is Stephanie Painchaud, and I'm excited for you to join me on a journey behind the scenes where we'll dig into the stories of resilience, mindset, and unlock the simple habits that will help you change the game. Before we dive in, I want to express our gratitude for your continued support. Your energy powers our quest to provide content that encourages you to unlock new levels of personal growth and step out of your own comfort zone. If you're inspired by an idea or have a suggestion for a future topic, connect with us at mindgamelevelupyourlife.com. Your feedback is a power-up that helps us continue on this epic adventure. So if you're ready to get out of your own way and explore what you didn't know you needed to know, you've come to the right place. So buckle up, open up your mind. It's time to level up. So welcome to the Mind Game podcast. Today we have Amy with us. Amy and I have crossed paths many times through education in her former life as a teacher. I believe you taught really young pre-K kids, and she has an amazing way with children. And she's transitioned into functional nutrition in women's health. And so today we're going to dig into her background, her story, how she got to where she is, and then our sole questions of the Mind Game podcast. So welcome, Amy.
Hey, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here and to chat with you.
I'm excited to have you here because I've been checking out your website and I've been following along in your story online. And I just wanted to say up front, I am so excited that you took the leap from education into being an entrepreneur, because we know that's not an easy thing to let go of what you know and transition into something brand new. But I love the story of where you're going and all of the amazing things that you share with us online. So if you're watching this podcast or listening to the podcast, make sure to check out the show notes. We'll have Amy's website along with her Instagram and all of her social media feeds for you. And I know she also has an email list. So if you hear anything that you're interested in, don't hesitate to check out the show notes. We'll get you linked up to Amy. So we are excited to have you here today. And so let's talk a little bit about that transition from, let's talk about what you do now, and then we'll loop into the story of how you got to where you are now. So tell us more about what you do.
So I am a functional nutritionist, so a holistic nutritionist. It's just takes a more like natural, holistic, so whole body approach. And I specialize specifically in women's health and hormones and burnout. So basically in English, like what does that mean is I help busy women of all ages make sustainable habits and shifts in their nutrition, their lifestyle, all the things, so they can live their best life. I truly, truly believe that our goal in life in general is to stay our best self our entire life and to be strong and powerful and vibrant when we do the things that we love. And that is possible for all of us. And so I'm just so passionate about giving women their life back and not letting their health take control of that. Our bodies are meant to feel good. We're meant to thrive. And I think if we give our body the resources and the support that she needs, then there's more than we know that can be that we can thrive with. So, yeah, in general, basically what I do is I help women dig down to some things that are going on in their bodies and understand themselves, come back to their health, and really truly become the CEO of their own bodies and of their own health and take care of themselves in sustainable ways. So they are not burning out, they feel good, they have balanced hormones because we all know, or maybe we don't know, but hormones are so much more than just your period and your bleed and fertility and menopause. Like there's just so much more to it. We literally need them to stay alive every single day. So, yeah, that's what I do.
And that's you sum that up so well, and I think the couple things that caught for me is the sustainable habits, because the Mind Game podcast, we look at how can you shift your mindset so that it's moving you in that healthy direction where you can thrive. I love that you said it puts you back in control as the CEO. I love that analogy that you are the CEO of your body and it's time to start paying attention, and that you help us look at not only the food, because you can help us know what foods are right, but it's that lifestyle change and creating those sustainable habits that will make it work every day. Because I just published an episode about habits, and goals are great. We can have big, huge goals, but it's the little things that we do every day that help us get closer to those goals and shape our life more than we know. And we know the cost of a bad habit is that it's good right now, but it's not good later. And the cost of a good habit, so the cost might be making that healthy food choice or going to the grocery store and getting those foods, but the cost of a healthy habit is we get a better future, and we know that's what we want. And all of those things that you said, I think our listeners will be able to relate to, whether they're male or female, having a very busy life and knowing how to listen to your body and find those building blocks that you need and use those to help you move closer to sustainable health, which is what we all want. Because we all want to age gracefully and get to a point where we feel good about our bodies. I know we were talking about that can start at any age. It doesn't have to be when you're older. It can be when you're a teenager and all through your life making those good choices. And all of those good choices are like a compound investment for yourself. They all keep adding up and you stack all those wins together and you'll feel even better. So I'm excited that that's what you chose to do with life. I think your background in education is absolutely fantastic for that. You know how to connect with people and how to help them through that and figure out the root cause, because I also wrote that down, the root cause and food first. So going back to what's at the root, because we can treat the symptoms. And I think lots of times we think, oh, I'm tired, oh, I'm this, but maybe it is that different hormones are out of balance, or maybe my iron is low, or sometimes we just don't know what we don't know to make those tiny shifts or switch our diets for that. So I'm excited to talk to you more today. So that's what you do now. Can you give us a little bit of background about what's your story of what pulled you to this purpose?
Yeah. So, I mean, this was not something that I ever pictured myself doing. I wanted to be a teacher and I loved kids and I worked at a daycare in high school. Like it was just that was what I was gonna do. And I did it and I loved it. And I love teaching, I love educating. And I always say I'm still an educator. Like to this day, I'm still educating, but I'm now educating women and people on their bodies and their symptoms and interpreting those messages from their bodies and how to take care of themselves, right? On, like you said, yes, a nutrition level, but that's only a piece of it. It's also the stress, the mindset, the lifestyle. And like that's what holistic means is doing all of those things and making them realistic because the truth is we don't need 1,000 things to make us feel better. We need the foundations that matter and that work for you individually. And
Yes.
so how I got here honestly was my own health struggles. I went through some pretty severe stuff. I honestly, my health stuff kind of started like from a pretty young age. And I got diagnosed with an autoimmune disease. I was in like grade 8, so I was pretty young at that time. knew nothing about like how to take care of myself. I mean, yes, I did. I knew how to take care of myself, but not in the sense that I
Mhm.
do now, right? I
Yes.
didn't know what my body was telling me. And then kind of fast forward a little bit, I went to university. Still, I was having like super, super bad mental health, anxiety, panic attacks, like all these things happening. Thought I was doing all the right things. I was going to the gym. I was eating salads, right? Like I was doing everything you're supposed to do. I was being successful and like I couldn't function. And so then I started my teaching career and I actually had a very, very, very major um, family crisis happen. And my dad got really sick in one of the years I was teaching. And so that stress, my body internally was already so stressed
Mhm.
that that extra stressor just kind of pushed it a little bit too far. And I like to say I hit what was hormonal burnout. And that also was happening while we were trying to teach in COVID. So there's a lot
There's
of
a lot
things
of
at
things going
play.
on. Yes.
Yeah. And it was at that time that I realized that like, hey, you know what? I have a choice and I can keep pushing through and doing what I'm doing. And by this time, I should mention too, like I was already in school. So I was teaching, but as soon as I started teaching, I was already in school online for functional nutrition because I had already fallen in love with it through like my own health stuff that was happening throughout the previous years, right? But my plan was always to keep teaching and just have this little business on the side. And that was going to be it. And it was going to be great
Yeah.
until this little business was now like, okay, either I do this or I teach because doing everything is not realistic for my body. And I had to make the choice. And so I had a lot of really good support in my life and I just took the leap. And I knew that was the best thing, for me and for my health and for my body and the person I wanted to really truly be in life. And so I did, and I took the leap and I kept educating myself. And I'm so, so happy that I did. And like I said, I'm still educating. It's just in a different way. And maybe I'm not educating those, pre-K aged kids right now, but
Which
teenage
you
girls.
did an amazing job. Like, let's just add, if you've been to a pre-K classroom, that's a lot of little children, 3 and 4-year-olds running around doing different things, and Amy could work this harmony into it and have everything flow from one to another. So I always admire teachers, all teachers of all the privilege of being in all the different classrooms that I did as a consultant. But if you are an early years teacher, that is a whole other ballgame of looking after and meeting the needs of so many young children and adults, because it's not easy when we take our children to school and drop them off. So I thank you for the work that you do in that and that education piece, because I'm not sure if I ever got a chance to say that when we were problem solving for different cases and in and out for different things. But I always admire that ability to work with young children and bring harmony and tie all of those different pieces together. The same thing that you're doing now. You are helping adults and you're helping women to figure out what it is with their health. And I think you mentioned a few key things in there. First of all, I can relate to the autoimmune disorder. I have ulcerative colitis. Knock on wood, it's doing well right now. Exercise helps me, but and food has always been a trigger, but also stress. When you said that stress that we internalize due to different events, that's when mine starts to manifest. Is if the eating habits start to shift, I'm not exercising, and I start internalizing a lot of that stress. That comes out in my body. So that is part of the Mind Game podcast to figure out how to shift my mindset, how to stay healthy, how to find the ways to become that person that we want to be. I love how you said that we that and that you made a choice. I think that is, and you're a young woman and you've made that choice early on. So I admire that you didn't wait until I'm 47. So to start the podcast, I waited a long time to kind of take that step. And I appreciate that you said this was a side hustle and it was going to go with teaching. And I just talked to Jason Brooks, who was VP of e-commerce in a network marketing company, and he just switched into his full-time Real Fiction Studios writer, actor, director, just jumped right in. So because one ended and then the other one started. So I appreciate that you said that you had that moment of choice and that the guiding factor was how you felt and who you wanted to be, because I think um, our definition of success in society often pushes us one way or another. And so I really appreciate people who have said, this is what's important. These are the steps that I'm going to take because that's going to ripple out into you, to your health, to your family, and to all of the amazing people that get to be in contact with you. So I think that's huge.
Yeah. And a few things just like on that too. And there's probably a lot of teachers who listen to this podcast, and you even being a teacher yourself, and I know your husband. And you know what? Like, props to all teachers, regardless of what age group you teach,
Yeah.
right? It is a taxing job. And I believe that all teachers need like a huge reward because it's not an easy job. It's a very rewarding job, but it's
Yes.
not easy. And I think, nothing in life is essentially easy, but it really is. Like, as much as I loved that, it was a should. I should stay in the job because I should be successful. I should have this security. And we get so caught up in the shoulds that, like, but what do you actually want in life? What
Yeah.
actually brings you passion and joy and happiness? And that's where I had to really decide that. And that's a hard decision because it goes against society. But if we're being honest, like everything I kind of do goes against society right now. So, like, I mean, we're not, you know what I mean? Like, even the stuff I'm teaching to women
Yeah.
and girls and that too, like,
I think
it's
there's
not
a shift though. I think that is shifting, and
yes.
schools, I completely agree. All ages, regardless of whether you have 16 kids in your class or 36 kids in your class at any age, that is not easy. And it is an amazing job that teachers do. And they never really stop educating. And I think that skill set takes you everywhere. I come from a high school background, so standing in front of 35 teenagers is way less scary than being in front of 13 or 14 pre-K kids, because that's a whole other ballgame of what to do. So I think, like you said, definitely all ages. I love what you said about why do we wait so long to find our purpose, and what is success and what defines that, and how do you find your joy and your purpose and your passion? And that's part of what I've been searching for is how do you find your purpose, and then how do you get brave enough to follow your purpose and to do all of those different pieces that go together. And I think society is shifting more towards holistic health and looking at how does what you put into your body and the type of food that you choose, how does that impact all how your body works. I'm a former biology teacher, so I have enough background in science to understand when we talk about the building blocks, we really need to get the right building blocks into our bodies, but we need to know which ones. And that goes back to that root cause. And we can take all sorts of different supplements and do different things, but if we're not actually looking or figuring out what that root cause is, and the genetics background from biology makes me think of some of the work of Gary Brecka, where he talks about if you know whether you have certain genetic mutations that maybe make it so you can't make an amino acid or you can't digest a certain type of thing, then you can supplement with what you need. So I think you're right. It is you certainly did step out of traditional teaching, but you've stepped into educating adults. And I appreciate the upstream that you kind of had to go in the what are you going to do? I think that's not an easy journey, and it takes courage to do that. So I appreciate the time and energy and the decision that you made to value what's important to you and to your health. So what lights you up about it? What's the some of the best parts of working in functional nutrition with women?
Yeah. So honestly, what lights me up the most, and thank you for everything that you said. That was that really like hits home and means a lot, especially coming from a former teacher, right? So that's nice. But yeah, what lights me up the most is seeing women take control of their life again and be able to go out and live the things because that's why we take care of ourselves. We don't take care of ourselves to die the healthiest person in the world, right?
Yeah.
We take care of ourselves because we want to live the life that we want to live. And even finding your purpose and your passion in autoimmune stuff, like when we feel good and we have, our bodies are so interconnected. I know from like a biology standpoint, you'll appreciate this, but our bodies are so connected that I mean, okay, so you say, you struggle with some gut issues
Yeah.
and autoimmune that way. Our gut health is like the foundation when I talk about hormones with women, like it's those hormones are the warning lights. Those are like the warning lights on the dash of your car. And if you don't lift the hood and actually look at what's going on underneath, we're never going to be able to address those. So throwing, the birth control pill or whatever it is at those hormones, they're not, it's just masking that symptom. It's a band-aid. And so I think it really comes down to what is stressing your body out? And I want to pull it apart a little bit because what that means is stress isn't just like stress that we think of, right? Like our life, and your body is also can be stressed at an internal level. So if we think metabolic health is imbalanced and your blood sugar and you're nutrient deficient, or you're not absorbing nutrients, because you can also be eating all the most beautiful food in the world. And if your body, if your gut health is a mess and you're not digesting and absorbing and getting those nutrients, you're still going to be deficient. And then
Yes.
that's causing inflammation. And if you're inflamed and if you have poor liver, if your liver's having trouble like packaging stuff up and those detox pathways, your lymph system, if your adrenals are taxed because you are pushing and burning the candle at all ends, like all these internal stressors, if we think about it in a realistic way,
Yeah.
your body is stressed at this internal level. So we all have this stress curve. Okay. And say that, the internal stress is pushing you so far past on this curve. Like, here's the optimal stress. We need some. But
Yes.
that internal stress is already pushing you past. Yeah. Okay. Now, like, here's where I was in my own health. And now life throws at you a sick family member or COVID and you have to go teach from home or whatever, right? Like a curveball, something it doesn't have to be big. Life can throw at you something that just like pushes you over that edge. And now you're in that really depleted place. But if we can support them at an internal level, inflammation, digestion, blood sugar, liver health, supporting our adrenals, nutrient deficiencies, if we can build up that internal resiliency, we have so much more capacity for external stressors. And that's what I love showing women how to do, because the goal, I mean, let's all be realistic. The goal is not to take away all stress. Like I
It's not
don't,
gonna happen. We live in a society where we're getting bombarded all the time.
yes,
But I love that you said you want to build internal resilience. So if something happens, your body might swing one way, but it's healthy enough to come back to that point.
yes,
And I love that you said the purpose of working out and eating healthy and figuring those things out is not to die the fittest person. It's to live the best life. I think that's a huge mindset piece because I read something on Facebook the other day that said, like, the purpose of working out is not to lose weight. It's to feel better and how that helps my mind and how that continues to grow it. Yes, my body starts to feel better and be better, but the goal wasn't necessarily to lose weight. Now, it might be for some people because of where we're at in life and what we need to focus on, but maybe there's something behind that that's causing some of the other challenges for us, whether that's weight or digestion. And I was doing some I think it was, I can't remember what I was reading, but it was talking about the gut is the second brain, right? So we have first our actual brain, our rational thinking, but our gut also communicates very frequently with the brain and the gut health, whether that's bacteria or any of the other nutrients that come from there, and the hormones, the job of the hormones for how it goes back and forth. And is it I think that they were talking about the vagus nerve connects the gut and the brain, and it transmits messages faster than
yeah.
hormones even
So
can?
I have to pick this apart a little bit because, like, I am gut health. Yeah, I focus on women's health, but we don't the hormones like said are those messengers. I don't think there's one person that has come into my practice, even myself. My autoimmune disease too is gut related, and that has not we have not had to address gut health, because gut health is it is your second brain, but it's also like the part of your body that regulates everything else. So for example, mental health, okay, serotonin, 90% of your serotonin is made in your gut. If you don't have a healthy gut, you're not making serotonin. What's serotonin? That happy hormone, right? That calm hormone. So hello, anxiety. Hormones. Some hormones are produced in your gut. If we don't have enough progesterone, for example, now not all hormones are produced there, but there are,
Yeah.
portions. Progesterone. Without progesterone, we're not happy. We're not calm. That's our calm and happy hormone. If we have too much, we're inflamed. We're bloated. We're holding water retention before our periods. Like, there's just so much to it. Estrogen is metabolized in the gut, right? If we have too much estrogen not getting out of our bodies, PMS, heavy periods, painful periods, like there's just so much that we can look at. If your gut's inflamed, your body wide inflammation. And when it comes back to weight, that's another thing. I have a lot of people come to me and like, oh, I want to lose weight. Like, I need to lose weight. And I'm
Mhm.
like, you know what? Yeah, I never like to focus on weight loss in my practice, but we focus on bringing balance to your body,
Yes.
because your body is designed to be healthy and feel good. And if you are taking care of your body and things are balanced, it wants to be a balanced weight. And so, yes, sometimes we do motivate ourselves to go and move and do the things. But again, if your body is so stressed and your adrenals are so stressed, and we're
Mhm.
adding in hours upon hours of intense workouts at the wrong time of our cycles and all of this, right? Hormonally, we're probably increasing inflammation, increasing weight, right? Holding on to stuff
Yeah.
when maybe, first of all, we need to come back. We need to let things calm down, put out the fires. We need to change, we need to move our bodies all the time, but maybe
Right.
change how we're moving with our menstrual cycle, with our hormones, right? Address that and then build that back up. Because I find that there's such a focus on weight loss, but why are you holding on to that weight, right? There is a reason to that. And again, when women can start to understand that, they take their health back into their own hands. And
Yes.
that's just so important because that's why I do what I do. Your body is there to keep you safe, right? And that body is literally the vehicle to the rest of your life. So
And it's
why
the
are
only
we
one we have.
Yeah. We don't get to go to the closet and, you put on some clothes today. You don't like the
Yeah.
clothes you're wearing. You go to the closet, you pick out some new clothes. Beautiful, right? You like how you look. That's not how it works in your body. You don't get to just go to the closet and pick out a new body and put that on when yours wears out. And I can promise everyone, right? If
Mhm.
we are pushing and burning the candle at both ends and we're not eating properly and we're nutrient deficient and we're inflamed and we're not absorbing stuff and we're not taking care of ourselves because we will when life slows down. If we're doing this, it's not a matter of if something's going to happen with your health, if you're going to burn out, if we're going to push past that stress curve, it's when, right?
Oh,
And
very true. Yeah, it
then
will
that,
come back.
yeah. And then that vehicle for your life, now what,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah,
So,
it's you say it so well, and I can see the passion and the energy that you have, so I know your clients are absolutely so fortunate to get to work with you, Amy, because I can see that energy, and you are a true educator. You are focused on changing how women feel about themselves and how their lifestyle impacts the choices that they make and take that back into their own hands. I think that's the most powerful form of education, and part of what the podcast is about is to help connect people with people they didn't know they needed to know. And so I think it's so important that you bring to light all of these different pieces because maybe and part of what I was thinking about was people have probably been to the doctor or they're not feeling good or they're just not sure why and people are like, "Oh, well you have 4 kids and you run all the time. So you're just welcome to being tired or you're a new mom, so you're probably just going to be tired or oh, well you do lots of this." So I think lots of times we acknowledge the symptoms but we don't do anything about them or people maybe they just say, "Ah, that's just how it is." But maybe that's not how it needs to be. Maybe it doesn't regardless of whether you're a teenager and you're just starting into the hormone adjustments of your life or you're older like me and you're transitioning into a whole other period of hormonal adjustments. Maybe you don't have to feel like that. And I think it's important that there's people out there like you, Amy, that let us know that we can feel better and our body does have what we need and it's not broken. It's that we just need to know how to balance it and find that all of the pieces and put them back together because once we figure out that puzzle, then our body can do all of the different parts and things that we need. And I follow Dr. Joe Dispenza, and I know he does a lot of work in meditation, but he always says your brain and your body has all of the things that you need to over the long term shift your health. He of course says like, if there's an acute injury, then you should go to the hospital. You're not going to think your way out of some of those pieces. But over the long term, if you commit to doing so that internal work and shifting those things and creating those sustainable habits that you mentioned, that will help move you forward in a way that can change your life. So it's not the big giant goal that I want to be super fit or I want to eat only healthy foods all the time. It's the when I get upstairs after this and I need to go for my workout and I think, "Oh, I'm kind of hungry. What do I reach for?" And what's easy and what can become easy if I just know those little shifts to make and how to prep that. So I know that Amy is a very busy entrepreneur and she has lots of things going on. And I think we could continue this conversation for a very long period of time. But I do have some questions for the Mind Game podcast and to all of the listeners and viewers, because this is in video format as well. What I want to say is we are going to have, and hopefully Amy's willing to do this, Amy come back and do a series, spin-off series on some of the different pieces that she's mentioned. So how do we learn to make some of those healthier choices? What are some of the different ways that food impacts our hormones in our body? What are some of the things that we should perhaps pay attention to? So Amy, if that's okay with you, we will circle back. And if you're watching this, please reach out and let me know what are some of the things that you're wondering about? What's resonated with you that Amy has mentioned so far? Anything to add before we kind of transition into the next part?
I just want to say one more thing is those symptoms you feel, right? That's your
Mhm.
body speaking to you. That is a message from your body. So when you're feeling those symptoms and pushing through, that's you ignoring that message. If we instead stop, pull back, tune in, get support, understand that message, then no matter how busy you are in your life, you can support that because whether you are postpartum or you're a young mom or you are running 3 jobs and you just kind of run off your feet, you can feel good. There are ways to micro moments that you can still feel good. And that's, I think, a huge thing. And maybe that we'll talk about today or in the future or whatever. But I definitely think like listen to those messages because the healthcare system is there to save our life. Doctors are beautiful and they're amazing and they're needed and they are there to save our life. But if we think of it as a pyramid, the
Mhm.
base of that pyramid is society telling us we should push harder, do more, go more. Then there's and like the foundational habits, right? And
Yes.
then there's the very top, and that's the doctors, and that's the medical, that's yeah, you break your leg or you're having a heart attack, like get to the hospital, get support, right? But what about that middle piece? And that's where we learn to interpret those messages before we need that life-saving support. And that is where functional and holistic health comes in. That's where I do what I do is why are we waiting until we need the pill or we need the medication or the surgery or whatever? Like, why are we waiting till we need that life-saving support? Why are
Mhm.
we not taking control first? So we don't have to get there.
Yes. I love that reminder of how do we listen to our bodies and that the symptoms aren't just symptoms, they are our body talking to us. So when do we take that time in the day to just think about, because we always think about, oh, how will I know this is what I need to do or how will it make me feel? But that is the answer in itself is when you eat the food, how does it make you feel? When you do those things, when you get to the end of the day, how do you feel? What are the signs or different things that come up? I love the micro moments. And I think what probably a future episode will be what are some of the symptoms that you might be encountering? And then what do you do? And so if you figure that out, where do you go? I think future episode could be because I loved one of your titles was healthy food that's good for your hormones, but also for your family.
Yeah.
Because sometimes we think if I eat healthy, nobody like I like how you said the salad earlier. That's you're gonna have the salad. Well, what happens if the salad is not your thing? And I think what you've talked about is find what works in your body for your body chemistry, because what works for me might not work for you.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of things that we can learn from that. So I have a lot of ideas for future episodes. I like the micro moments. If we can catch those micro moments in the day, I think that's huge. You said movement is important. The type of movement is important. And I think that's as I go deeper into the fitness, learning more about it the at different times in life, you need different types of fitness, whether it's weightlifting or it's cardio or what does your body need at certain points in times, is
And
important.
And even at different times in your monthly menstrual cycle, like if you, and regardless of whether you're cycling currently or not, if you're on, some kind of hormonal birth control or IUD or
Yeah.
your perimenopause or menopause or whatever it is, you actually like the way your hormones fluctuate. This could be a whole episode in itself. You
Yes.
need different forms of movement for that, and you'll get way better results. And you have way less time to spend in the gym, and you actually feel good. You're not holding, and you're supporting and balancing things out. And just one more note too, I want to come back on something you said there of listening to those messages and yeah, like the doctor, like we always want to look outside ourselves and have someone tell us what to do, right? And exactly how to do it. But the doctor, this is a quote that came up in one of my courses I was taking recently, and I forget who actually said it, but the doctor of the future is actually the patient because it's about you tuning in to your body. Nobody knows your body like you do. And if you can come to me or any practitioner and you can be like, hey, here's what I'm feeling, right? And you can, and that's why I think it's so like, I need to listen. I'm there to listen and support and help you build this puzzle because you know your body best,
Yes.
right? And I will help you find the micro moments and find the ways to not eat the salads. Like, and I
Yeah.
used to eat salads on salads on salads. And like, I'm not like, and that's just not, we don't need that. One, we need way more than that. And two, it's not realistic. So I think that like that's important too. That's what I'm here to help you do is find those micro moments, find those ways to make the habit sustainable and easy and realistic. But I also help you reconnect to your body and yourself because the doctor of the future is you.
I love
Whoever's
that.
right.
Because the more we dig into the Mind Game podcast and the more I talk to different people, what it really comes back to is it was in you all along. Like you had the answers all along. You just really had to trust yourself. Is there a simple habit that even a micro habit that you might be able to suggest for listeners? Because we often do a weekly challenge or a week episode challenge because sometimes people watch it at different times. But is there a habit that you start your day with or that you do during the day that viewers would find helpful?
Yeah, so something I really like to do, like a quick little habit, because I mean, one of my favorite habits or strategies is honestly that cycle syncing piece and living into with my
Yeah.
natural hormone cycles. But aside from that, just daily, I think taking somewhere in your day 5 deep breaths, true deep belly breaths, and just kind of asking yourself, like, how do I feel right now? What does my body need? Regardless of whether you go and do something with that right now, isn't the point. But we all have a space between tasks, between work and picking up your kids, when you're laying in bed before night. Can you take 5 deep breaths and ask your body how she's doing? Can you say thank you to your body for showing up for you today? Because we get so disconnected from our bodies, right? And we feel like we're against them and they're working against us. And like, no, they're just speaking to us. So what's that
Like,
message saying? And start tuning into that. Start there and then start picking that apart, right?
I think that's fantastic. We can find there, I lost my voice. I was so into it there. I think that's perfect because we can find those 5 or time for 5 deep breaths. So that's not even 5 minutes. That's
It's very
5 deep breaths, right? And I like that you said your body's not fighting you. It's telling you things. It's trying to communicate with you. So if you create that space. Now, if you're a busy mom, that might be going to the bathroom and locking yourself in the bathroom for a time long enough to take 5 deep breaths. That might be when you're pulling the laundry out of the dryer and it's nice and warm and you can wrap yourself in something warm out of the dryer and just be like, okay, 5 deep breaths. Maybe it's when you get outside and eventually we can see the ground, but eventually the ground will warm up and you could be outside because I know there's benefit to outside. But I think, like you said, the point is 5 moments. Find 5 moments where you can find gratitude, you can listen.
That's perfect. I
And
would
there's
love
one
to
more.
talk about the go and slow and how we can flow through life. That could be a total episode.
Wow.
Thank you to Amy for joining us today and cracking open the door into holistic health. The more we learn, the more I recognize and appreciate the interconnected nature of health and mindset, and that the true level up begins within. I'm curious, what was your aha moment? Was it the reminder that the symptoms that you feel, that's your body speaking to you? The symptom is your body's message? Or was it the idea of our gut as our second brain, and just how much gut health can impact how we feel? Or was it the quotation Amy shared reminding us that the doctor of the future is in fact the patient, and by listening to the messages our body sends us means we can advocate for and connect with the health practitioners that can best support our needs? How many of us, as we move through the daily grind of life, think to ourselves, or even share in conversation, I'm getting older, so I guess I'll just have to deal with it, or with that symptom, or with feeling this way? But what if, The answers lie in the questions we haven't asked yet. Like, what is my body trying to tell me? Who might be able to help me? Who might be able to support me in finding a healthier path forward? Who might I connect with that could help me level up my life? And that is the purpose of the Mind Game podcast, to connect you with people you haven't met yet, to open the doors to simple ways to level up your life, because you are the writer of your story. So stop handing the pen to someone else and expecting them to fix it. You are who you've been waiting for. Turn the page and write yourself back into the life you want to live. The good news is that there are amazing people like Amy ready to help us reclaim our health and, in turn, our life. Even better, Amy is going to come back for future episodes, and we'd love to know which topics piqued your interest. P.S. Did you know you can join us inside the Mind Game Level Up Your Life community to continue the conversation and to let us know the questions that you'd like to explore in future episodes? Thanks for listening. Here's your Mind Game Level Up Your Life challenge. Share this episode and choose to pause and take 5 deep breaths and ask your body how she's doing. Thank your body for showing up today. Hashtag it, level up your life. Thank you for choosing to listen to Mind Game, a podcast to level up your life. We hope that you've enjoyed the insights, inspiration, and habits shared in this episode. Your support is a game changer, and we are incredibly grateful to be on this journey with such an amazing community of listeners. If you have any wonders, questions, or suggestions about this or future episodes, we'd love to hear from you. Connect with us on social media and share your feedback. Remember, you can catch all of our episodes on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. Make sure to subscribe, rate, and leave a review. It helps us bring valuable content to you, our listeners. Don't want to miss the next episode? Join our Facebook group and email list and get ahead of the game. Until next time, remember to mind the game so that you can get out of your own way and level up your life.